Okay, thank you. We are live back after our short break to work through some wordsmithing on some motions, and I believe we are ready to go, Madam Clerk and Councilman Telebus. You have the floor with your motion when it comes up on the screen, and we'll begin. After Councilor Telebus, we have a motion coming from Councilor as a motion after we're done with the ones from Nathan. He said he has a couple here, so the ones from Nathan, he said he has a couple here, so. Nathan?
Yeah.
135 hard copy?
Correct.
Thank you. I love paper.
So sorry, Madam Clerk, are you looking for me to fill in the? No.
Sorry, I'm trying to find a lot of controls back here. My apologies. I probably, Mayor, I know you and I had discussed it prior to coming into this evening with regards to having the funding with not filled in yet and helping, finance helping us determining those costs so
Right.
they don't have any effect on the potential tax levy.
Right. Jay, you want to make a quick comment before Nathan makes his motion?
Yeah, so the recommended funding source would be pay-as-you-go for this.
All right, can we put that in there for Nathan? And when you're ready, Nathan, please make your motion and speak to it when you're ready, please.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the proposed 2025 municipal operating budget be amended by adding funding in the amount of $37,500 for the temporary Bellevue skate shelter as set out on page 135 of the 2025 proposed budget to be funded from the pay-as-you-go.
Thank you, Councillor. Please speak to your motion as you see fit.
Perfect. I guess a couple things here. I'll start with the funding method. So as an attempt, obviously, to not affect the tax levy, pay-as-you-go is going to be where this will be funded from. I do want to touch on the importance of a facility like this. As it stands right now, we know we don't have enough ice rinks, at least indoor, that are available to our youth and adults included to utilize. This temporary solution, and I'll highlight that, temporary because down the road we will have to look at some kind of permanent solution, provides, again, every resident as well as visitors within Beaumont a facility where they can get dressed, changed, ready for hockey, as well as take warm-up breaks as required when they're out playing hockey or just skating around on the ice. In all my times during operating hours that I've been there, I would be surprised to say if I've ever seen someone not using that facility. So it's very hard for us to provide something and then take it away. So I think this is absolutely an asset for the community, and yeah, it will be used. I can guarantee you that.
Thank you, Councillor. I appreciate that. Jay, a comment before we go any further on the discussion, please? You have the floor.
Through the mayor, Councillor, just to get clarity, so the way we're interpreting this right now is that it's $37,500 for the 1 year, and that subsequent years would come back for discussion for council approval. Just so we're the motion on page or the 135 references ongoing, and so that would not be the funding source. Pay-as-you-go, pardon me, pay-as-you-go would not be the funding source for continuous operations. It would be for one time. So just getting clarity.
Correct, yeah, with the intent down the road for something more permanent.
Thank you, Councillor. I have a very quick first question then. Should this motion pass, does the money start January 1, or can we get the rental shack in here as soon as possible? I know we're passing the 2025 budget. This is $25, but can we make this happen if the motion passes before January 1? They have to get the ice shack up there and the kids can start using it and all that good stuff. Just a question, Jay.
To you, Mr. Mayor, so Technically, no, but options would be that we could continue to run a larger deficit in '24 for that amount, and that this, I don't even know how we reserve transfer this backwards, but from that perspective, if you needed to go in '24, or there could be a subsequent motion that this is funded from reserve in the short term for 2024, it'd be separate outside the budget process, a separate amendment to move it into 2024, funded from reserve, and then this pay-as-you-go would replenish the reserve back to that direction.
Not trying to complicate things, but I'm assuming Nathan would want this as soon as possible, not starting January 1, so I maybe preempted a bit there.
Yeah, I would suggest that it not be presented as part of the budget, but as a subsequent motion for 2024.
Didn't mean to complicate things, I really didn't, but I was just thinking, okay, how best do we proceed then? Counselor, how do you?
Yeah, I'm not too sure because obviously some of that costing will fall into 2025. So looking for.
Sorry, Nathan, CO Schwartz has handed before I went to you, I apologize. CO Schwartz?
As Jay said, there's a number of options. Let's go with this. We will make it work.
That's what I was thinking, that's my next comment, saying,
Thank
look, make
you.
it work. Great. Thank you for answering my question, and making it work is a good answer. Counselor Monkoff-Swain, you have the floor, followed by Counselor McCook. Sam?
Yeah, thanks. Continuing the theme with Nathan and I being aligned, you're not supposed to laugh at that, Kathy. So I think the reason why I like it is one time because, ideally this is a target for someone to come in and sponsor, right? And pay for that moving forward. So short answer, yes, I'm supportive and on 1 year. I think we could also think about this moving forward so that we don't have to wait, and we should not remember this next year, so we don't have to wait till the budget to do what Mike is asking. We should see where that source funding could come from. But either way, I'm supportive of this.
Yeah, I agree with those comments. Councillor McCook, Kat, you have the floor, followed by Councillor Van Newkirk.
Thank you. Councillor McCoskey went where I was going to go. Is there any opportunity, obviously there's not one right at this moment, but are we able to work towards an opportunity for a potential corporate sponsor for this year at any point, or?
Hang on here. Mr. Suter.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Councillor McCook. We're working on that currently. We have been working on that for the last month or so, trying to put this in place again this year as we've done the last couple of years. So it's an ongoing conversation, yes.
Okay, so potentially there's opportunity. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you, Councillor Tellenboss, for bringing this forward.
Yeah, great. Councillor Van Newkirk, Steve, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And as suggested, one time for this year, I think is a good place for this to land. I will just say that, this shack was there, and it's pretty much been a community expectation that this shack is there. So the old shack was torn down, the rink was rebuilt, there's a place for it, and the funds haven't come together yet to build a permanent track. So here we are, craning in and out a temporary shack. But that's where we're at, and happy to support this community expectation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Warner for a quick comment, then we'll move things along. Kathy, you have the floor.
Just a question to the administration. Is this going to be the only ice surface that has temporary skate shelter? Are there any others? Mr. Suter, do we have any other plans for any other skate shacks?
Mr. Lewicki.
Mr. Lewicki, okay.
Through the mayor to Councillor Barnhart, there are no other plans for skate shelters at outdoor boarded rinks currently.
Okay. That's my only hesitation here, but I do support it. I just remember the conversation we had last year, I think it was at budget time, about the cost of building skate shacks. So I am thinking ahead, but I do think we need to think of this in a broader strategy, not just the one-off. So I'll support this at this time, but I think we need to have some planning time spent on that, which I'm sure the administration is aware of.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no further comments, Nathan, unless you have a final comment, I will be prepared to go to the vote for you if you like. Any final comments, or you're good? All right, thank you. Would you please initiate the voting process on the motion in front of council? Councillor Van Newkirk, how do you vote?
In favor.
Thank you, Council. That passes 7-0 in favor. Thank you, Councilor Tello, for bringing this forward. Much appreciated. He's going to be a great addition to our community. And thank you, administration, for being creative on my question, and we'll let you guys figure that out. Councilor Telebus, I believe you have another motion. When it's on the screen, please proceed when you're ready.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Just be a moment, Steve. Oh, here we are. Even when you're ready, as long as it's the one you wanted.
I don't think that's mine. Well, it's not mine.
It's not yours? Oh, okay. We'll change gears for a second. I thought yours was coming up in a moment. We'll change gears. Steve, this is your motion, I believe, Councilman Newkirk. Sorry. If you can see it when you're ready, please make your motion and speak to it, please.
Okay, sure, you bet. I would move that the proposed 2025 municipal operating budget be amended by adding one-time funding in the amount of $40,000 for portable toilets as set out on page 134 of the 2025 proposed budget to be funded from the pay-as-you-go.
Great. Please speak your motion if you wish to.
Yeah, what I would say is that, the words I used in the last comment that I made were community expectation. I don't know how we could leave this budget and not fund portable toilets, given the demographic in the community and the expectation of portable toilets around. I will highlight the multiple thousands of dollars of damage that were done to portable toilets last year, which has brought this number up substantially. Vandalism and purely burning down 2 or 3 of them. That's how we got to 40,000. If anyone in the public has concerns with that number, that's how we got there. So again, a community expectation around all of our playing fields, and asking for council support on this one. We'll see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Rather than, I have a quick question. So these will be placed primarily around sports fields or walking paths as well? I have a chance to read the page again rather than just trying to find the information on the page. 134, yeah. Mr. Lewicki, can you tell me offhand if this is planned to be just around sports fields or around some walking paths as well? Do you happen to know offhand from the budget? I'm looking through my page here quickly to try and find it, but just an idea where they will be placed, pardon me.
It's also Schedule H in the maps.
Okay. Okay, well, you know what, I'm not going to waste some more time. I'll just assume they'll be placed in great spots. Let's move on. I'll withdraw my question. Thank you, Mr. Leckie. Councillor Penrod, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mayor Daniluk. I'll be brief. I want to support this for all the reasons that Councillor Van Newkirk said, except for the piece that he mentioned that we had several of these burned down last year by arson. I don't think we have a good plan to prevent that from happening. In fact, I don't think a plan to prevent that from happening is possible beyond spending ridiculous amounts of money to police the porta potties. So my vote is going to be no on this motion, and that it's a vote cast as a this is why we can't have nice things. Until people stop burning down infrastructure like portable toilets, we can't provide them.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Appreciate your comments. Councillor Telebus, Nathan, you have the floor.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. A question just for Chief Melvin there. I guess you and your team, how do you feel you guys were impacted? Obviously, I don't know what time these were set on fire and how the arson had happened, but it obviously draws on your team services. So just looking for a little input from you as well, and if that cost is captured in this 40K as well.
Chief, Director Melvin.
Through the mayor to Councilor Tellenboss, we were called out for one of them. Obviously, by the time we get there, it's pretty much in rubble. So there's not much cost to the fire service on this other than more of an inconvenience. The second one, we found out the morning of, it was already gone, so we didn't have to do any fire suppression efforts on those two. From a municipal enforcement, very hard to kind of prevent these things. Most are happening in the dead hours of the night, and we normally just find out the next morning or get dispatched out. So those are those comments.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Councilor McCook. Kat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think these are definitely needed. In the report, it says that there's increased use to them as well throughout the community. So just the weekly servicing is insufficient because they're being used that often. Therefore, I believe there is a need for them. However, I do understand Councillor Penrod's point in that if they're just continuously being burnt down, we're burning money at that point. Just a question for administration. The ones that are burnt, we do not replace them, correct? They're burnt, they're gone. That's it?
Mr. Lewicki.
Through the mayor to Councillor McCook, we haven't been replacing them, but we still owe money on them because they're rentals, right? So at this point, we haven't been replacing them because we have to pay for the lost one and then we have to pay for another one. So we haven't, and we haven't had the budget to support replacement. This, I'm not sure the budget will allow for, obviously there's a bit of contingency in there for vandalism and such, but obviously if we start losing 3-4 toilets, you know, we'll be running a deficit again, and that is definitely a risk with putting these facilities in public. And as Chief Melvin indicated, that there's not a really effective way to patrol and make sure this doesn't happen. It takes 30 seconds to probably, you know, sabotage one of these things. They're plastic, they melt to the ground, they're gone, right? So it is unfortunate, but it is a risk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then have we looked at various suppliers, or like what do other communities do? Is there an opportunity, like there's no insurance or anything on these porta potties? We're just there for replacement cost and that's it?
Through the mayor to Councillor McCook, at this point, I'm not aware of any other options as far as insuring. I mean, they're not a high value item, but they're valuable enough that they cost us money, and I suspect insurance would probably not be economically feasible.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say that I've looked into that personally, but it's likely that it's probably not a feasible option.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarity, Mr. Loki. I think my concern with this is if we do have a couple issues with a couple of them, then, you know, we're already digging ourselves out of the deficit from last year, then we're back in the same spot. That's just one of my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Barnhart, you have the floor.
Just a quick question, I guess it is. Chief Melville, do you know if if we've looked at different locations? Because I think if it's out more open rather than behind, let's say, J. LaPointe School or something like that, it might be less of an issue. Has from a community, I'm trying to think of the CEPTED principles, you know, where we put them might make a difference. But I'm sure you've tried that. Is there anything you could add to this discussion with that?
Through the mayor to Councillor Barnhart, I'll defer that question to over to infrastructure. As they place them, we just put them out.
You just take care of them, okay, after the fact.
Sorry, Mr. Lewicki. There you go.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Councillor Barnhart. Currently, we try to place the portable toilets in areas of high need and higher traffic areas. Obviously, you don't want them in a very noticeable location where it's like the center of attention, but they are in higher traffic areas. Some aren't, but I don't know that that's really impacting the vandalism or damage that we've been seeing. So I think there is an effort to try to balance the location with not being too much in the center of attention, but also keeping it off to the side so it's convenient.
I'm sure you know your business, Mr. Lewicki, and you know where the high rates of crime are happening, perhaps, and what's hidden away. So I'm just putting that out there. Sadly, I don't see another alternative. The groups that I heard from in the past have, like tennis and pickleball and things like that, are looking for access to these toilets as well for the reason that they're there. So I would like to support it, but I also hear the concerns about the cost just going up and up. And the only other alternative is to come up with permanent toilets, and that's even more expensive than skate shacks. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Telebus, and then I'm going to wrap it up and give Steve a last chance to discuss the motion, and we'll move on. Nathan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. If you asked me 10 years ago if I'd be talking about toilets getting burned down with 20 people involved in the conversation, I don't think it would have been something I thought of. In saying that, I'm just wondering if there, to anyone's knowledge, a more durable option than a simple, plastic outhouse.
You want to take a crack at that one, anybody? It wasn't that funny, but it's not bad.
Through
Mr. Lewicki.
through the mayor to Councillor Natellenboss, at this point, from a feasibility perspective, for the number of toilets that we need, this is the most economical way to try to service the city. As far as, there are more permanent solutions we can look at, but of course they cost significantly more. At this point, and our current portable toilets are provided through our waste provider, so there's some synergies there. But yeah, anything beyond this solution would likely be significantly more expensive. Thank you.
Perfect. And just one last question. In terms of events and what have you, we would still continue to provide that for events such as Beaumont Days and things like that, I'd imagine. This is just the permanent ones?
Through the mayor to Councillor Natellenboss, yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. See no further questions. Steve, any final comments before I ask for the vote on this motion for you?
Yeah, all I would say is that, the beauty in this is it is just 1 year. And so if they get a rash of them getting burned down again, then I won't be putting good money at bad in the future either. So, here to try for the vote for 1 more year of porta potties for the community. So here we go.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll call for the vote then. Would you please initiate the voting process? Council, would you please vote when you're able to? Everybody's still giggling here. Councillor Van Newkirk, how do you vote?
In favor, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tellenbus, I'm not showing you. No, I'm struggling. Yeah, it's just, I thought you're, okay. That motion carries 6-1 in favor, Councillor Tellenbus in opposition. Thank you, Councillor Van Newkirk. Kendra's just killing me here. I don't know what I said, but it's pretty funny. I'll take the blame or I'll take the credit, one of the two, I'm not too sure. All right, Councillor Tellenbus, I believe you have another motion. We're going to go to it now.
Gotta have fun.
Have a little fun in the budget process.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. First off, I guess before I read these two, I just want to thank administration for their assistance with kind of putting this together. I may have been a bit more wordy than I wanted to yesterday, so this kind of cleans it up. So I move that the proposed 2025 planning and development fees be adjusted to achieve an estimated revenue increase of $250,000, and that the updated fee structure be included in the 2025 fees and charges bylaw for consideration by council on December 10th, 2024, and that additional resources be allocated by the end of Q1 2025 to support a proactive approach to addressing land development compliance and enforcement issues, and that a report be provided by council by the end of Q2 2025 on the progress and outcomes of these efforts.
Thank you, Councillor. Please speak to your motions.
Perfect. So this is a scenario where I am trying to think outside of the box as to how we can bring in additional revenue to help reduce the overall tax levy, under an assumption, of course, that we're hitting the targets that we anticipate for new development, but also to make sure that we have again, a proactive approach by having a compliance officer involved in monitoring the properties that are going up. Just focusing on that aspect, I'll start with there have been a lot of individuals within the community frustrated with builders in and around them, not taking care of their lots, garbage everywhere, not following required bylaws, and this is an opportunity to nip that and end those issues that you're seeing, or at least get a better handle on them. In terms of the additional revenue, obviously, any opportunity we can get, and especially if it's not going to affect a typical resident of the community, we'll take those opportunities too. So combined, I think there's a lot of reasons why we should move forward with this.
Thank you, Councillor, for your comments on your motion. At this time, members of council, any questions or comments on the motion? Motions on the screen. Just checking my screen here. Councillor Penrod. Phil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. A question for Ms. Raymond in Planning and Development. The number here that's targeted is 250,000. It doesn't sound like that's intended to be new money over and above some of what was presented yesterday. So just wanted to get your, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but get your clarity as to how this would impact the work that you've already begun, and if this is a realistic number that could be achieved while kind of keeping some of the balance that we talked about yesterday.
Sure, thank you, Councillor Penrod. Councillor Natellenboss can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's asking for 15% over and above what we presented yesterday. So if we said that the cost for a new house is $1,803, give or take, if we went up by 15%, we'd be looking at that being over $2,073.45. I almost made that much more expensive.
And just to the second point of the question, how achievable is this?
I do think it is a modest increase. We were looking at this internally here in the past day, trying to figure out kind of where we might look at increasing fees based on the conversation we were hearing last night from council. I think that in alignment with everything I've heard about council wishing to maybe slow down a little bit on the pace of development, I think that this is a reasonable increase. There's still room to move the fee in what we had proposed yesterday compared to where we are. I would need to benchmark it to see where that put us with municipal comparators. But I think that that is still within the balance, and we'd already been considering something similar. So I think it's reasonable and strikes that balance about what council's looking for in alignment with the fees.
Thank you. And thank you to Councillor Natellenboss for thinking outside the box and bringing this for us to consider.
Thank you, Councillor. If I could ask a question of administration, so we're looking at an increase of approximately 15% to what we'll be seeing on December 10th. If council were not to vote for that increase of 15%, what happens to this motion? If the motion passes today and we don't pass that extra 15% on December 10th with the updated fee structure, fees and charges bylaw, is that my understanding that that's a possibility? But then what would happen with implications should that happen? It's not happened yet, it's in the future.
To you, Mr. Mayor. So the ramifications, so the assumption is that $250,000 of extra revenue is going to be generated to offset these positions. If you choose not to increase the rate, achieving that $250,000 will be much more difficult. We'll have to build a lot more houses in order to generate that income, and it would likely lead to a deficit position or start of a deficit position in the calendar year next year.
Thank you. That was my understanding, but I just wanted to get it explained one more time. Again, I do appreciate outside the box thinking, get my head around what happens if and implications of future decisions we haven't made yet. It's a couple weeks away. Councillor Barnhart, Kathy, you have the floor. And then followed by Councilman Newkirk.
Thank you, Mayor. Perhaps I'll ask Councillor Telebas, the 250,000, where's that number coming from? Because I'm trying to find it in the book.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's roughly the 15% increase, just to stick with a standard number that's going to help the tax levy as well as cover the 86,100 required for the enforcement officer or compliance officer.
I see the 86,100, so the remainder is on a page we have, or it's in the existing budget?
So where we didn't want to assign this to a specific role within a department,
Right.
it will be additional funds that would reduce the overall tax levy.
So one of those positions that's already funded in that list of positions we have?
It doesn't matter where it's applied.
just a
Again,
position.
it's just additional revenue.
What I'm trying to get at is that position is currently in the funded part of the budget?
I was told not to speak about positions, so in saying that, it's revenue coming in, therefore overall reducing the overall cost, or tax levy, I should
So
say.
basically, you're not talking about the position, you're talking about the revenue. Okay. I understand that.
CEO Schwartz, you want to jump in on that one?
I just wanted to make a comment on this, and first and foremost, want to thank Councillor Natellenbos for working the notice of motion. And what the motion, and what I'm reading is, we'll increase the revenues, and then we will come back and tell you how we were able to improve the service, and by report. So if that means hiring somebody, it means hiring a contractor. So I just wanted to clarify that, to say thank you for one, and for the other, our understanding is increased revenue, we'll sort it out, we'll come back and tell you how we sorted it out.
Thank you, CEO Schwartz. So one last quick question then. This does not affect then the tax levy, we're at 5.41, does not affect that, correct? Jay? Mr. Parchak?
To you, Mr. Mayor, so the way I understand that is that it does impact the tax rate down by $250,000, and that there may be a operational change in the new year that would be an expense, but we can't quantify that at the moment. So the only number I can take is the 250 down, and that we may have an operational change or a supplemental budget adjustment in the spring that speaks to how we're going to respond to that element. But it's very hard to quantify the unknown response from a dollar value perspective. So the assumption would be that it's increase in revenue 250, and there'll be an operational response later in the year. Did I clarify very well there? So let me try again. So it does have a $250,000 positive impact on the tax rate from your perspective, and that it'll come down.
So 5.41% is going to be dropped down by roughly 250,000 to a different percentage number. Yeah, that's what I thought you said, and that's...
Yes.
Just for clarity, people who are listening at home.
Appreciate
and
that.
making sure we know exactly what we're doing with this motion. So it will have a positive effect on the tax levy, essentially. Good enough.
If we pass it
At first, yeah.
on the 10th. Yes. Not now.
Sorry. On the,
Wait, sorry.
hang on.
Pass the budget.
Hang on, Kathy, your mic's not on. Okay, now it is.
So not until the fee is in charges, like essentially council is agreeing now. If we agree now, then the proposed budget, it goes that way. But if we change our mind between now and December 10th, then it doesn't.
Right. But assuming it goes through, 5.41 will be reduced, right?
Yeah, but no different than the proposed rates now. If we don't pass the bylaw on December 10th, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just so we're clear and clear as a county can be. Appreciate that. Okay, Councillor Penrod. Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, happy to support the motion. Thanks to Councilor Metellenbos for being creative. I was going to make the exact point that the room just went through, that, you know, there's a little bit of a tic-tac-toe here. There's December 10th, and then there's a potential new hire, and then there's a spring budget process, right? So there is room for all the decision-making and adjusting that needs to happen while we proactively look to reduce the tax rate right now. So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. That's my understanding. Just wanted to get as clear as we possibly could. See no further questions or comments from any, oh, sorry, Councillor Penrod? My mistake, yeah. Pardon. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I just want to be crystal clear for myself, knowing that not everyone will watch the full video of what we're doing tonight. Would it be fair to say, if I'm just looking at page 12, which is what a lot of folks will look at, are we increasing the revenue growth in planning and development by $250,000? And if that's true, are we also forecasting, would we be including some personnel growth tied to revenues?
Oh. Ms. Bajek?
So if I heard the question correctly, Councillor, so would there be an increase to the planning and development revenues by 250,000? Yes, that would be how we would state that. We wouldn't make any adjustments to the positions at this time. It would be coming back as part of the spring budget adjustment. Any sort of response to clarify that amount?
Thank you. That helps. I think the last piece I was just trying to get my mind around was how we can be as transparent as possible with, I would love if the budget conversation didn't revolve around a percentage number, and if we could focus more on service delivery for the return on the investment people make through their contributions to the city's budget. But I know that people are hung up on that number, so I just want us to be thinking always about how we can be the most transparent. And if that number is like down and then up, I think that gives people a bit of heartburn. So just want to, I'm clear now. Thank you for your response.
Thank you, Council. Seeing no further comments or questions, Councillor Telebas, you have a final comment if you wish to make it, and then I'll call for the vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I guess just in short, we talk about all these levers as we continue through the budget. The levers start to disappear. This is an opportunity to look outside the box, see how we can bring in additional revenue and ultimately bring down our tax levy. And this, as well as also dealing with some of the concerns we have in terms of development and the lack of control and compliance and enforcement. So I hope everyone is on board for this, or at least the majority, because I feel it'll benefit everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, would you please, I'll call for the vote. And we're going to vote on both motions together as one, right? Both paragraphs are under one vote. Correct, Madam Clerk? Head nod is good. Thank you. So, would you please initiate the voting process? Council, would you please vote on the motion? Councillor Van Nieuwkerk?
In favor.
In favor? Councillor Telebas?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm showing you as a no on my screen. That would surprise me.
Oh, I'm not, no.
No. Okay, screenshot, I got a big red 0 here, just so we're clear. So I thought you'd be voting yes. I did actually. Okay, having said that, we have motions passed. Councilor Newkirk is a yes. So motion is carried 7-0 in favor of the motion. Jay, do you have a comment to make at this point? Thank you, Councilor Telebas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just an update on what that does to the tax rate.
Thank you.
We're at
452. Thank you. Okay. So we have no more motions. Oh, Councilor Barnhart, you have something to say at this point?
Just process question, Mayor, because I'm kind of losing track of when my motions are coming forward. I did give Ms. Winter 2 motions yesterday, and I'm just wondering, are they for, where do they come? But when do they?
If they're not operating, those should be capital. Are they capital
Well,
or operating?
I'm a little confused as to whether they are capital or not at this point, so.
Okay, we'll get that clarified.
And we're doing capital next, is that?
Utilities are next, then capital. No, we have to finish the grants and library, which is still part of operating.
Okay, okay. I'm just losing a little bit of track here. I want to make sure I'm on the right page.
Yeah. I was of the impression that that was it for operating, that yours would be grant by
Well,
default, but
there's one in the
capital.
grants
We'll just
and
make sure it's clear.
The other one is lighting in Centerville, so I wasn't sure.
If it's in addition to existing,
Mayor?
it'd be capital. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Those motions that Councillor Barnhart asked me to work on, those are part of the capital discussion.
Okay, just want to
Move
make sure.
capital.
Thank you
That's
very
my
much,
understanding.
appreciate it.
Okay, we're good. Okay, seeing no further operating motions coming forward, we have yet to do the grants and the library. It's now 6:55. We'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back and we'll go into the grant funding program, followed by the library. See you back here. And let's be sharp, 10 minutes quickly, please. I got 9 minutes now. We'll try and get done tonight if we can, but it'll be what it'll be. Thank you. See you back in 10 minutes. We are adjourned. No, we're not adjourned. We're just taking